Greetings. I'm Christy with Yo Gypsy, and today we are in the Gulf of Paria, Trinidad, in Claxton Bay, to be more specific. Today I wanted to do a video before I leave. I've been here for about 3 weeks, and I had to learn so much coming here that you can't find, as many articles as I've read, I didn't understand some little tips and tricks. So I wanted to cover mainly Trinidad, which is where I've been, and just give you a little bit of information. I will cover Tobago. I was only there for a day. But first of all, is Trinidad for you? The reason I'm here actually is because my husband was working, he works in the oil and gas industry, and he's been here for about 7 or 8 weeks. So, no brainer. I thought that I would come and be here with him and kind of use it as a work vacation. And there's a lot that I can do from my computer, from my laptop. And I found a great place really close to where he's working. So it made it easy. But I'd like to say that if you are planning a vacation and you are used to a resort, or you're just looking for a luscious beach, all-inclusive, Trinidad is probably not the place you're looking for. They have, I think, maybe one kind of type resort, and it is actually pretty distant from everything, and it is located on the northwest side of the island. Right now, where we are, we're basically in the central and western side of the island, which is where a lot of the oil and gas work is. And you can see behind me, that is the Gulf of Paria. Basically, if you head that way, you're going to eventually run into Venezuela. Venezuela extends both south and west of here, and this would be closer to like the west if you just went straight out that way. If we headed back north towards Port of Spain and went to the furthermost tip, Venezuela is actually about 7 miles. And the bodies of water are interesting here because what we're so used to are the beaches and the islands that we go to on cruises, or what we think of like Barbados or Dominica, the Bahamas. This is very different from that. Tobago is similar to those, but Trinidad it's a very different place. I hope I can kind of get a better description to you as I go through some of my tips and tricks. First of all, the first thing I found out was transportation isn't easy here. If you are going into the main airport, which is closer to Port of Spain, which is the capital, then you usually can get around easier. If you're staying in that area, you can get a taxi. You have to be pretty careful. You can rent a car. However, remember, if you are American, that they drive on the opposite side of the road, and it can be kind of confusing. On top of that, it's a lot of erratic driving. There's potholes, and they just jump out in front of you, the car in the opposite lane, and they'll go and pull out, and everybody just kind of knows that they're going to do that, and you stop. There's a lot of accidents. It takes a really skilled driver. Where I am is a little more distant from all of that, so it makes it even more expensive and difficult to figure out. And we just are fortunate enough where we have found some really good drivers, which can be expensive. I'll give you some for instances. I needed to go to the grocery store when I got here. We're staying in a very nice apartment that I got on Airbnb, and that is a better way to go because some of what they consider a resort or a hotel that's down here, it's so much more expensive than you would think it would be. So Airbnb, and I'm in a really nice 2-bedroom apartment with a full kitchen and laundry service, and um, but whenever I had to go to the grocery store, which was probably 3 or 4 miles from here, um, and I needed to go to the ATM to get some TT money, that's what they call it, um, it cost me about first time $30, and then the next time, because I needed to make a couple of more stops because I actually wanted to see some things, it was $60. I went a little bit further. I asked to go to the see the temple in the sea. So transportation, you kind of need to figure that out a little bit beforehand, because you also have to be very careful. I'm jumping into my next topic, and it'll kind of overlap a little bit. I'll keep talking about transportation. Is you have to worry about crime. So this isn't a frou-frou video. This is very realistic. Um, in the eastern part of Port of Spain especially, you don't go there. It's like if you know New Orleans, you don't go in the Ninth Ward after dark. You don't go into the eastern part of Port of Spain. And it can be kind of misguiding, because if you're booking a hotel down there, they have their nice Hilton and what have you, and they are nice, and I've driven by it and I've seen, but it's not the same kind of downtown we're used to, where you can get out and go walking around. It's really, you can in groups, but you want to travel a little further west in Port of Spain, and you want to they do have some beautiful areas, and you want to be on the other side of the Queen's Park of Savannah, which is the biggest roundabout in the entire world. And it's where they have their carnival, which they're famous for. If you're into that kind of thing, that's probably something that, you know, if Trinidad is for you, then that might be the reason why it's for you, is to come to carnival. Let me get back to my thought. So, places to stay and transportation. You want to watch out for crime, and you want to make sure that you have a valid taxi service, because in all honesty, there are people that hang out at the airports and kind of scope out, especially single women, so you don't really want to be by yourself. I did travel in by myself, but my husband had a driver pick me up, and he was with him. Which is a little sad, so it put a damper on my stay, because I'm used to being kind of independent, but I have found my way around. I've made some friends and drivers, but I've had time. I've been here for 3 weeks, so you may not have that time. I don't want it to be a total bum, like a bummer, what I'm saying, but I do want people to be prepared, and females to be prepared, because if you're like me and you're from the U.S., you know, I can jump at my car at 2 in the morning where I live in Louisiana and go to the corner store, you know, the 24-hour store, and pick up something if I want it, and I'm not scared. I mean, I actually, you know, carry a gun sometimes, but I don't everywhere, and it's not something I think about, but I'm a pistol packing mama. Just say that there. But I'm not fearful. Here, you need to be. You need to be. Even where I'm staying, I can walk to what we call the top of the hill. They have what they say is a resort. It's not. It's just basically like a big hotel, and it has a restaurant with beautiful views. It's really nice. I'm thinking about doing a blog on my Yo Gypsy site, and that's YOGISPY, and I just misspelled that. YGIPSY. And I'll put pictures. But anyway, I wasn't going to edit this video, and I still might not, but oh my goodness, I'm getting so far off track too. Let's see, what are some other things that I was going to talk about? So, I think that there's like one resort on the northwest side of the island, which is supposedly very nice and very beautiful, and I would stay there. And it is, I think Trinidad, because of it's lack of resorts, and it really has carnival, and that's the main thing, I think it's more for people who love bird watching and hiking in the jungle and going to caves. They do have the Gaspery Cave. They do have waterfalls. They have some remote beaches. You got to be careful. You need to be with a group. And that's wonderful. And really, that is up my alley. I just wasn't prepared. I didn't realize who I would need to know, how costly it would be for me to get around if I didn't plan that ahead of time. And then what it has taken me to figure out how to find those groups. So, just so you know, they do have a lot of Facebook groups, and you go by the reviews. And they have, I wanted to go, they were going to do a hike somewhere on the northwest side, which is fairly a safe area, and they had a big group of people going. But then I realized I don't even have good shoes to wear. Apparently, it was really steep. It wasn't going to do what I had. I couldn't do it. That leads me to something else that's interesting, kind of jumping in there. You wouldn't believe how conservative they are here. Like, yes, on the beaches you wear your bikini, but they really kind of frown upon skimpy clothes on women and men. But they don't, you don't walk around in little booty shorts and just tank tops and stuff. I mean, I guess you can, but I've worn a lot of sundresses here. I felt more comfortable like that. But it is not like, and I mean, we got some hoochie mamas where I live, but you don't worry about it. Everybody just kind of wears what they want. And here, it's a really religious place. A lot of different religions, a really nice melting pot of people, which I love. They have a very big Hindu following, and I went to the temple, and it was really nice. And I've met a couple of my drivers have actually been of Indian origin, but they have a really cool mix of an Indian accent with the Caribbean accent. So if you wanted to go to Carnival, I'm assuming you would want to get something in Port of Spain on the west side. That's basically what I'm saying. If you want to venture out, it's not that it's a big island, but they don't have a bus system. They used to have a train system, and apparently they tore it up whenever they gained freedom from England. So the trains, not only did they end it, they tore it up, like they destroyed it. There are no tracks left. So it's just the history of what I got to see, and they have like the train station that's been converted into something else, and that's in Port of Spain. You do have Maracas Beach, so I have to mention that because that is home of the original shark and bake. It's a sandwich, and it's really good. And if you're going to get one, it's best to go to Maracas Beach to get it. Spend a day. They do have a hotel there, but it's small. Going back to that whole lack of resorts thing. But it's beautiful, and you can see a beautiful view at Maracas Bay Point and another place called Turtle Point or something like that. I can't remember. I took pictures of it. Where as you're driving up the mountain, you can have these beautiful views of Port of Spain as you're heading to Maracas Beach. Because you drive up, and then you kind of drive down to get there. And it's really nice, and it's kind of secluded, but there's not a whole lot to do there. So if my driver that brought me told me that a lot of people literally drive up and down that mountain to go to the beach every day, and they stay in Port of Spain, which to me, the drive is a little bit grueling. It's very windy. They had one part of the road shut down because they do have mudslides. It's rainy season, so let me tell you that. It's rainy season right now. It's December 1st. I think rainy season starts around June or July in the summer, and it lasts for about 6 months, and then they have dry season. So it's supposed to start, I think, in January or February. I'm probably wrong about that. So it's rainy season, and it's winter, and it's about 85 degrees out, just so you know. Okay, I've been hunching over this whole time because I don't know if you can see me or not. There's a man up there at that apartment. He's probably listening to me and thinks I'm crazy. Okay, so they do have tours that you can sign up for, but it's a little more limited. It's not what we're used to, where they have a whole barrage of that. You have that more in Tobago. So we talked about Maracas Beach, online hiking groups, and to look for reviews. Just so you know, their local beer is the one that they sell the most of is probably Carib, and that's how you say it, Carib. You want a Carib? That's what they ask you, because it's a lager and it's decent. And then they have Stag, which is a little darker. It's hard to find American beers. They do have some, and then they do have things like Heineken. I've noticed that. but they make a really good margarita, like nothing I've ever tasted before. It's actually better than what I'm used to. And I know margaritas, you know what I'm saying? And I live between Louisiana and Texas a lot, so I get a lot of margaritas from Texas, and these are really good. I don't know what they do. I'm gonna have to watch them. I think I'm gonna have one tonight. I'm gonna go up to the hotel. Okay. So I might have already said this, but the currency is TT. And whenever you're dealing with their currency, you want to get a little bit maybe at the airport if you haven't changed it out already, but it's really cheaper to go to a bank. They have ATMs all over the place. If you have a taxi or a driver or what have you, just once again, be cautious. If it's not a ride that you have arranged ahead of time and it's a random taxi, be careful, because you just can't trust everybody. So feel secure in who is driving you around. Feel safe, and then do that, because they do have a lot of robberies. Women need to be especially careful. So the range is about, I'm just rounding it up, it's about 7 to 1. And you would think that would mean that the American dollar would go really far here. You know, whenever you're getting, changing in 200 American dollars for about 1,400 TT. That's a little bit off. I think it's $6.70. It fluctuates a little bit. But anyway, just to keep it easy. But no, it's really not. Some of the little side vendors you can get, you know, cheap food just like we can get in the States. But my experience here at grocery stores and everywhere is that I'm spending about the same amount of money. Like I bought a 6-pack of Caribs, and I think that it was $49, which is about $7. So for a 6-pack of beer, so you figure it out. And there were other ones that they did actually have that were just, I think they had Coors Light, which was unusual for me to find it in that particular grocery store. And it was a crazy, ridiculous high price. Anyway, so we talked about safety at the airport. I'm dropping stuff, sorry. Talked about it being, English is the language, but there's still a language barrier. Just letting you know. So it's okay to ask them to slow down and say, what? Because it's their, you know, it's their country. We're the ones with the accent. That's what I keep telling my husband. He's like, they don't understand me. I'm like, it's not your country, it's their country. Let's see. So I used to think before I came here that Tobago was Tobago, but it's not, it's Tobago. And don't even argue with me, because I tried arguing with my husband. It's one of the first things he told me when we got here. It's Tobago. Okay, we've been lied to our whole lives. It's not Trinidad and Tobago, it is Trinidad and Tobago. They say lime, which means to chill. We talked about Carib. I've only heard them say Caribbean. They don't say Caribbean. So if you've ever wondered that from grade school, whenever you were taking world geography and you think it's tomato, it's not. I've heard Caribbean. They drive on the left side of the road. Some other things with transportation, I said I would go back to that. They do have like a maxi taxi where probably in the bigger cities, so it doesn't apply to me as much, and I think that that's where I'm a little embittered. It's harder to find this, but you can save a lot of money if you get a group of people together going in sharing a taxi. So instead of paying $20, $30, you're paying $6 or $7. If it is a set rate, you're not supposed to tip. There was an article I found, and I think if you Google tipping in Trinidad and Tobago, it's really good. I don't want to go into too much detail. I would like to say that they generally at restaurants add 10% gratuity. They call it a service charge. So just keep that in mind. It's just a little bit different. Some places, now they've gotten accustomed to a 15 to 20% because, you know, us Americans have come in and been obnoxious about that. But there are some places, like if you're going to get a to-go order, obviously not at a McDonald's or something like that, you're not going to tip. And the locals kind of get mad at you for doing that. They're like, don't do that. And if you do rent a car, if you are that brave soul, and I wish I was, man, I wish, because that would have saved me so much grief. I would have been all over this island, if I had found a travel buddy, I probably wouldn't have done it by myself, but I would be all over the place. Um, you get gas and it's full service, but you don't tip. No, that's what I've been told. So we're big on tipping, but we go with the flow here. And if you go to the grocery store and they bag your stuff for you and carry it out, which a lot of times they'll do that, give them a few bucks. I think about $7 is one. So if you have 14 or a $10 bill, that's probably good. Just to give you an idea. Communication. I thought my husband on me getting a Trini phone. I thought I can make it, but thank goodness he had one. We've had to order food a couple of times locally because that was cheaper, and they are really big on Kentucky Fried Chicken, by the way. And they do have a Papa John's by here, but they have their Mario's pizza that they love a lot, and you can order, but they need a local phone number. Also, me just using WhatsApp is not, hang on. Well, I'm pretty sure I lost a paper and somebody's going to think I'm extremely obnoxious, whatever's written on it. Anyway, let's see. I've already done this one. I already did this one. We are talking about communication. Oh, well, because I have this note here, I'm going to say it. Oh, no, I'm not. I try to get by with WhatsApp, and a lot of them use it here, and they have Wi-Fi, and we happen to have Wi-Fi really good where we're staying, but you might not have it, and you need to have something. So a lot of people say get the SIM card. We didn't find that worked very good. That's what my husband tried when he first got here. A little Trini phone, putting minutes on it whenever you need it. It's going to be about 50 or 60 bucks. Just get one. I know when we were in Europe, we would sometimes just use our Verizon, and you can do that if you have Verizon. I think it swaps over and gives you 24 hours for 10 bucks. That can add up depending on how long you're going to be gone. So just figure out what's best for you. I kind of wish I would have gotten a Trini phone because it made me stressed out a little bit. I'd be in the apartment waiting for a ride, and I couldn't go down into our little lobby area because then I would lose Wi-Fi, and then I'm like, oh dang it, now I've got to pay the 10 bucks anyway, so I might as well just do it. And anyway, you know how that goes. So that's communication. SIM card, we talked about WhatsApp. Next extensive. They have an app, it's called TT Rideshare, and I downloaded it and tried to use it. I didn't have as much luck because they've had crime here. Okay, once again, I'm not trying to scare you, but you need to be prepared. Uber was here. Okay, Uber pulled out because it was either 2 or 3 people got murdered. Uber drivers going to the wrong place. Do we have crime in the States? Oh, yes, we do. And I live an hour away from New Orleans, so I know all about it. But it's different. It's kind of brutal. People carry ice picks and metal pipes. I can't believe I'm telling y'all this because I'm really not trying to scare you. In some areas, that's, it's not that they attack tourists, but that's how they fight against each other because not everybody has a gun or what have you. So I haven't witnessed it. My husband has since he's been here. Somebody getting mad at another driver, then jumping out of their car. Anyway, I'm going to keep it at that. People talk about the crime. I did not believe it. I have not had any personal bad experiences. We have stayed in a very safe area. I've had safe drivers. And there are safer areas than others. But sometimes you have to go through the bad areas. So I'm going to leave it at that. You do more reading and figure it out what you want to do. So they have a TT Rideshare that took the place of Uber when it left. And I think what they did was that they just eliminated areas like the east part of Port of Spain and what have you. So that eliminated that problem, I guess. Drivers are crazy. Some of the roads are really nice there is a rich area. I mean, if that's your thing and you're like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to stay on the west side of Port of Spain, do it. And just get a car or get someone to bring you to Maracas Bay Beach and then stay, do your little bit of shopping or whatever in that area, which you can. I went to the little mall yesterday. It was fabulous. It was great. It was wonderful. I love it. But you're limiting seeing the rest of the island. Don't drink the water. Another thing that we just didn't understand is laundry. Okay, my husband came first, and he was staying in what they call a resort. It's Cara Suites is what it's called. It's very nice. And then you get a little bit tired of it because they charge you for everything, and they double charge you for food. Like a quesadilla that we pay $8 for, they charge about $20, and it's nothing special. So the people are nice. And if you're just there for 3 or 4 days, you feel like you were in a tropical paradise. So that's, not to put a damper on it, but for us longer stays, it things like, at first they charged my husband $20 American basically to do laundry because they didn't offer any washers and dryers. And then they picked up his clothes, and then they were holding them basically for ransom, saying it was going to be $60 because all of the men came in from out of state, and I felt like they were price gouging a little bit. So I don't know if that's just for that area. I even talked to my driver about it. I was like, this is just BS, really. And here I am again going on a negative tangent. I might not post this video. But I kind of need to. When I can tell you that when I booked this wonderful Airbnb, and I don't really want to say where it's at because it's up to that person whether they want this type of what is the word? Information getting out. I mean, it's just personal. It's just it's not my business to say that. I can say that it's very, very nice where I'm at. It has its own washer and dryer, and so that immediately saved us $100 a week because of how much laundry my husband goes through. He works long days, and we have to wash his big, heavy clothes. So you have to find your way around, I think is what I'm getting at. Know what to look for. When you're booking something, ask if it's got Wi-Fi. What is within walking distance? Look on Google Earth. Does it have a washer or a dryer? Does it have cable? We do. I was surprised pleasantly, actually. I didn't know. We've been able to watch everything, and it's, they speak English here, so it's all English speaking, and it's the regular channels we're used to, and it has, ABC, CBS, NBC, regular channels, and we've been able to watch football. Anyway, getting off on a tangent. Other parts, so you have where Port of Spain is, which is going to be on the northwest. I'm actually confusing myself now. Yeah, northwest, but then when you divide it up, it's like northwest and east. Traveling further east from there is where you have I've heard that they have some really beautiful beaches and hiking trails and places that you can go if you just want to be in nature that are safe and beautiful. So it's getting the ride there, but if you arrange it, that's nice. I'm more in the central part and on the west, and this is where all of the oil and gas is. And further south of me is San Fernando, which I'm going to go in tomorrow before I leave Tuesday. I'm going to go see San Fernando, and apparently it's just a simple little town. I think they have a little small beach or whatever, but they have a beautiful hilltop, the San Fernando Hill, and I'm going to just go get some pictures. And I'm going to have what they call a hot double, which is a local food stand kind of thing that it has, I think, chickpeas and roti and some wonderfully fried bread, and you got to have one. They tell me now that I've had a shark and bake. I'm an official Trini. So Trini is or they call Trinidadians and Tobagians, whatever, they mix it all up, but I'm a Trini. if you keep going south, I heard they have some like mud pits that some people go, and it's supposed to be really good for your skin, like a lava pit or something. I'm not sure about all that. And apparently, a lot of really beautiful waterfalls and hiking areas in the central south, and then heading towards the east side. I'm probably getting all my directions mixed up. Here, let's face north. North. Here we are. This is the west. East. Yeah. Something else interesting, since I'm just rambling on now, is that here we have the Gulf. And if you travel up to where the closest point of Venezuela and to Trinidad meet, it's more of a delta area because there is a river that flows out, just like the Mississippi flows out of New Orleans and causes that delta area, which is kind of slushy and it looks muddy, but it's actually pretty clean water. So they have the soot and whatever that comes from there, so it's a little different water style. But as you continue around the other side of Port of Spain, around that tip and away from Venezuela, it's the Caribbean. If you go down to the south part and come around, and you're on the east side of the island, that's the Atlantic. And they have a ferry service. It takes like 4 to 6 hours, I think, and it travels somewhere near Port of Spain. I'm not exactly sure where they get on. And it travels around, and they go in the Atlantic, and I've heard it's really choppy whenever they get to the Atlantic. But it's a huge ferry, and apparently you party. A lady I met here who was bartending said that she loves going with her girlfriends, that she doesn't fly, which is what we did to Tobago, because they just make it a party. They just hang out and drink and have a blast. So that brings me to Tobago, and all that I've said, forget it. Tobago's beautiful. It's much safer. It does have resorts. It is less expensive. It is chill, laxing. You lime there. We had the most wonderful time. We will go back. We will go back to Tobago because apparently that's just our style too. It was just so easy. Taking a flight, you just go up to the Port of Spain airport, which is called Piarco Airport, I believe, and they've got flights all day long. So it is easier if you book it just to make sure that there's room, that you catch one. But every hour or two, they have flights going back and forth. And one way is $25, round trip is $48. So it was $96 for me and him to fly to Tobago. We left out at about 6 in the morning, and we came back that night at about 10 o'clock. And as soon as you get out of the plane, the nicest people in the world greet you. They have great taxi services you can trust. That island is much smaller. I think that their inhabitants is about 50,000 people. And it is not an oil and gas kind of town. It's tourism. They do have some remote places on the north and eastern part where you can go and have like a beach to yourself. They have a lot of Airbnb. I've already checked into it. Or you can do like we did, which was spend our day at Pigeon Point, which was absolutely beautiful. Close to Nylon Pool, Buku Reef. My hair's doing crazy things. I mean, it's 85 degrees in December, and it's humid. So what can be expected? Absolutely go to Tobago. I could do probably a whole video just on that, but I feel bad because really we've been staying in Trinidad, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. That's how you get there. It's easy. They have an area, if you're around Pigeon Point, you can walk within a mile. You've got every single thing that you need. So many places to shop, so many places to eat. You can just lay down on the beach and take a nap. It's wonderful. Always be cautious anywhere you go, but it's nothing like what you have to watch out for here. Let me see if I have anything else. Make fun. Do not wear camouflage. They'll arrest you. Do not wear camouflage. They're having, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a lot of politicking going on right now. They're having elections, I think, tomorrow. So they ride around with bullhorns, and that's how they communicate. Watch your potty mouth too. You know, we're used to cussing, and that's frowned upon. You don't need to wear any shirts. My husband has a shirt with Johnny Cash flipping off whatever, and that he can't wear that. Their police lights stay on. They don't keep necessarily the alarm on, but they do keep the police lights on, and I found out why. Because I thought it was so strange. You know, there were police coming up behind us, and I thought they were going to pull us over. That wasn't the case. Well, apparently a few years back, they had a kidnapping, and the lady was in the trunk. And it sounds so bad because I keep talking about crime, but you know, it happens everywhere. So she said that the reason she got free is because she noticed a light flashing in the rear lights, and so that made her realize that she could push it out. And then she got herself free of the trunk and threw herself out on the road, and the cops were right there and they picked her up. So I think it's kind of not wonderful. The Prime Minister said, we're going to keep the lights on all the time. In case this ever happens, somebody always knows if there is an emergency vehicle nearby. So, that little bit of information. Here's a weird little thing for you. If you do order a pizza and you think you're being cute and you're just ordering one from them, you're like, I'm going to get one of the pizzas the way they make it. It'll probably have ketchup and mustard, like designed across the top, the same way we would put icing on our cinnamon dessert pizza. They think that ketchup and mustard go on everything. So you have to specifically like order it without that, or you have to order it how you like it. And I'm glad that I found out that ahead of time, because I would have been so grossed out I wouldn't have been able to eat it. They also get confused. Some places you ask for pepperoni and they put hot dogs, but I think that they think it's something else. But when I asked for pepperoni, I got pepperoni. But just be on the lookout, because you might get it's like their veggie pizza, they put corn. So you got to look at all that stuff. And the last thing, the last little tip is that they count how many people are in a room. It's not like in the States where you're like, I got a room, people are sleeping on the floor, and I don't care, we've checked in. You know, I mean, some nicer places in the States you can't do that. But we're so accustomed to doing what we want, we're spoiled rotten. Here, I showed up, and it was going to be about 6 hours before this apartment was ready. And they were like, okay, well, what are you doing? Are you going to be in your husband's room? I'm like, yeah, he's my husband. And they were like, $20. I said, for like a few hours? Yeah. And we just laughed, and I handed over the money. That kind of put a bad taste in my mouth at the very first minute, but I'm like, at the same time, it's just their way, I guess. It's all been worth it. Now that I have set all my pieces, given you my tips and tricks, these are some of the most beautiful sunsets. I don't know what you can see. And it's just not going to do it justice on this phone. It's not going to do it. It is absolutely gorgeous. There are some very friendly people. And you know what? We're in their country. We're in their country. It's not ours. Sometimes we like to go and have things our way, but what's the point? You should go experience something new. I'm going to flip this around and give you a view. You're tired of looking at me. I hope I can splice this together. This is just a beautiful view of the Gulf of Paria in Claxton Bay, Trinidad. I hope you found my video useful. Have a great day.